Now, I know that Game Week 3 isn't even over yet, but that doesn't stop me making a video. So here are players to buy and avoid for Game Week 4. Now, Raheem Sterling looks to be back, and he said himself that he wants to be the Chelsea top scorer this season, and here is why I think he's a good option. Now, I can't say I was surprised to see Raheem Sterling playing as well as he has been. We all knew the fixture run that Chelsea were about to embark on from Game Week 3 onwards, and I've actually mentioned it in a video during pre-season as well. He appears now, at least in my opinion, to be the Chelsea talisman. He's obviously said he wants to be the top scorer, which leads me to asking, could he be the penalty taker? You know, Enzo Fernandez took the last one. It was meant to be Reece James. Obviously, he's not in the squad at the moment. Enzo took it. He missed. There could be a new penalty taker the next time Chelsea get a penalty. Then also, just looking at his stats from Man City, they were absolutely ridiculous. 134 returns in 225 Premier League games for Man City. And the two sets of stats I've got at the bottom there is comparing basically his best season at Man City, 29 starts, 18 goals, 11 assists, 0.79 expected returns per 90 to this season. Obviously just 3 starts so far, 2 goals and 0.48 expected returns per 90. Obviously a drop off, but you can't really imagine that he's going to be quite as good as he was at City because Chelsea quite simply aren't as good a team yet. But yeah, I think he's a great option. And with those fixtures, Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Fulham away and Burnley away, fantastic fixtures for a £7 million player that, as we know, looking at that 17-18 upside, has, you know, potential to get circa 30 returns in a single season. Now, the fact that he walked away from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on a pair of crutches last weekend would have led to a number of players selling James Maddison last week. Unfortunately for them, though, he had an absolutely fantastic game against Bournemouth, and he's really turning out to be one of the best midfielders in FPL this season. Obviously, we know what he did for Leicester, a team that got relegated last season. Played 30 games, 10 goals and 9 assists, an absolutely fantastic season. Also, of course, considering they got relegated. For Spurs, he's also started off really well. He's got a goal and 2 assists in his first 3 games. And I think the other player at his price, right, is Phil Foden. Comparing the two, I would say just minutes-wise, Maddison is by far and away a better option. The only thing that holds Maddison back is his injury record. He doesn't have a fantastic record of injuries, but if Spurs can keep him fit, and I think they took a real precaution on him with the crutches last weekend, if Spurs can keep him fit, which it looks like they're managing to do, he's going to be an absolutely fantastic option. Now, I've spoken about this guy in multiple videos. I even made a video completely dedicated to him, which you can find in the description. I'm not going to spend too long talking about him because, like I said, I've already made a video, but Taiwo Awoniyi of Nottingham Forest looks absolutely fantastic. And, you know, he's played 3 games in the Premier League so far. And last season as well, he scored 6 goals in the final 4 games. So I think we've got now a large enough sample size to at least come to the conclusion that he's a decent striker. And this season as well, he scored both at Old Trafford and the Emirates. With those fixtures coming up, you might think they're quite tough, but the tougher fixtures that he has played this season, he's managed to score in all of them. And I really do think he's a fantastic option. What I did in the last video is I quickly flashed up the expected returns per 90 across the top players in the Premier League last season, and it shows that Awoniyi is competitive or better than most of them, which I think makes him a fantastic FPL option. Now, one of the standout players, of course, of Game Week 3 was Malo Gusto of Chelsea. Obviously, he's in playing right back in place of Reece James, who is injured for, in inverted commas, a few weeks. That's the last update, at least, that we had on Reece James. So exactly how long he's going to continue starting for Chelsea, I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that he's 4 million, I imagine he's probably already risen by the time this video comes out. He's probably already 4.1 million. But ultimately, regardless of whether he's risen or not, his value is absolutely fantastic for the attacking upside that he's offered. Also, of course, you've got to remember, likes of Thiago Silva, Colwill, etc. They're 4.5. But Gusto, he's slightly cheaper. And of course, playing fullback, you know, the Chelsea fullbacks traditionally bomb forward. He's going to get you more attacking returns than those two. And for me, at 4 million, right, if you only have him in your team or only realistically play him for a few weeks, you get your money's worth out of him. I think he's playing well, number one, which makes me think he's going to keep his starting spot, at least while Reece James is injured. And also, this is a bit of a dark thing to say, but I think unfortunately it's a reality. with the sheer amount of injuries that Reece James gets, you know, when Reece James comes back into the squad, he's obviously going to replace Gusto, but I can only see that being for like a matter of maybe maximum a month before he's out injured again and Gusto needs to play for them. I mean, that's realistically what we've seen from Reece James over the last couple of seasons. So I really do think Gusto is a player to hop on. Perhaps, you know, you're sitting on someone like Gabriel or another defender, Estupinian maybe, who comes into a tough fixture run. Another defender that you want to get rid of. You could almost save yourself $1 million on some of these guys. Get Gusto in and improve your team elsewhere, because I think at least for the next 3 or 4 fixtures, he's going to play and he's a really good option. Now, I know that Mbeumo didn't even score in Game Week 3, but that doesn't stop me talking about him and thinking that he's a really good option. Now, he's also gone up to 6.6 million, so saying he's the pick of the 6.5 million mids, obviously he's not 6.5 anymore. But I do think of that midfield price category, he's still my personal choice. They've got a really, really good set of fixtures coming up. Obviously, the Newcastle away fixture there is a little bit off-putting, but I still feel like Brentford could do some damage in that one. And just the fact that he's on the Brentford penalties, I think just puts him above. You know, Eze's also on the Palace penalties, but they don't look too clever going forward. And then obviously Mitoma, Brighton have got a bit of Europe mixed in, and he's not on the set pieces. I think Mbeumo takes the free kicks as well. I just think he's the best of that price category, really. And I wouldn't let the fact that, you know, he didn't score in one game week, I wouldn't let that put me off. You know, as we saw in Game Week 3 with Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, both of those returned well. In previous weeks, they didn't. A lot of people were knee-jerking and selling. And then when the fixtures came good, they performed. And I think the same's going to happen with Mbeumo. Obviously, didn't do so well in Game Week 3. But I think with the fixtures coming up, the fact he's linking up really well with Wissa, Brentford looked really good on the eye. I think he's still a really good option. Now, I included this as a little segment in my last video. But again, the Brighton attackers, I just think there are too many options for the limited positions that they have. And quite simply, the fact that they've just lost to West Ham and only managed to score, you know, a singular goal against them, I think De Zerbi is going to continually shake up that forward line. So this week it was João Pedro that was victim of a Brighton, you know, Ferguson and Welbeck double up front. It could be Solly March that's sacrificed next week. It could be Mitoma. You know, there are just so many players in this front line that could play or be rotated. Obviously, one's been taken out of the equation now, sadly, and Ciso with his injury. But I think regardless, there are still lots of options for those limited positions. And considering the fact, you know, they're going to be in Europe as well this season, they've gone through their good fixtures. The fixtures get tough for them now. I just don't think you can go near the Brighton attack, with the one exception of Mitoma. I think Mitoma's the one that's probably going to play the most minutes. And as we've seen at the start of the season, he's not done too badly. Final one then, and I don't know if you agree with me here, but I've not been very impressed with the Arsenal defence at all. I know Gabriel was very popular at the start of the game. In fact, I've still got him in my team. He's not been starting, and that's really been to Arsenal's detriment in my humble opinion. I think if they went with the White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko back line, Arsenal would go back to winning ways at the click of a finger. I really do think that settled back line allows Ben White to link up with Saka on the right-hand side to, you know, be a bit more attacking going forward. Saliba and Gabriel made a really good partnership last season, and Gabriel contributed in some way with some goals from set pieces. And Zinchenko playing as that inverted fullback, it works really well, and I just can't understand why Arteta keeps mixing it up. It's probably because Gabriel is linked with Saudi Arabia, and considering the fact he's not been in the Arsenal team, he's probably really considering that move. Obviously, Tomiyasu being banned, you'd thought that meant that Gabriel would play in Game Week 3, but it didn't. He still got benched and didn't even play a single minute. They're trying Partey at right back and then Kiwior in the defence as well. I just don't think it's as good as that traditional 4 that they had last season. And for some reason, Arteta seems to be continually going with it. And for that reason, I don't think the Arsenal defenders are worth it at the moment. Alright, and that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with any of those players I've recommended to buy or avoid. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. If you found the video useful or just enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like rating and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel that's just there. I'll see you in the next one.